Hey everyone, KeithBot here with my impressions on the July 1st update for Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. I'm also here to give you a new variants guide on the new characters for the Cactus and Pea Shooter. First off, let's look at the new additions. They added a map. Jewel Junction came to PC first, so it's finally made its way to the Xbox versions. And it will be available on the PlayStation versions as well, as soon as they're out. A new game mode has been added, Vanquish Confirmed. It's basically Call of Duty's Kill Confirmed, except you gather crazy orbs instead of dog tags. Party matchmaking got a whole lot easier on the Xbox One, since there's now a Join with Party game option in the multiplayer menu. They've added an 8v8 playlist where you're going to be able to play Gardens and Graveyards, Team Vanquish, Gnome Bomb, which would make it a lot easier to get that last second achievement, and Vanquish Confirmed. There's a new Garden Ops challenge, no player damage, which is basically being cruel to the Chompers. There's new Garden Ops special waves, such as Weed Whackers, which is Landscape Engineer Wave, Sky Guys, Sky Trooper Soldier Wave, Brain Freeze, Ice Themed Wave with Ice Soldiers, Safety First, Safety Themed Wave with Engineers and Coneheads, Toilet Troubles, Plumbers, Outhouse Zombies, and Newspapers. Basically the best of the best. Legion of Boom, Wrestler theme waved, They Hunger, food theme waved, all zombies have food themed customizations. Next, let's look at the Garden Ops balancing they did. Teleporters explode after reaching a certain zombie limit, which is lower than before, and has less health. Tombstones have less health now as well. All bosses had an HP balance since the Yeti was dying way too fast. Lowered imp damage from 70 to 60, which I thought was needed. Lowered the Gargantuar imp shot from 80 to 60 damage, which I also thought was needed, and this will also help you get the Garden Crazy achievement. If you need help with that, you can do it on your own by clicking the link in the description, or I'll have an annotation here. Increase overall disco effectiveness, disco rifle timing, and whirlwind dizzy tuning from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, which I hated waiting to be unstunned and waiting around to attack the disco zombie, so that's a very nice fix. Pots now come back after a special wave during a challenge. Not a big deal, but it was a little annoying that some of your pots wouldn't come back or you couldn't plant in them. Next up, they also added a balance for Gardens and Graveyards. They looked at the capture times for each objective in Gardens and Graveyards, and they adjusted them accordingly, because some were too easy to cap and some were almost impossible. Some bug fixes I found useful. Team auto balancing in Gnome Bomb and Team Vanquish has been fixed. Bamboo will now do damage to all bosses, whereas before it would not do damage to certain boss characters. And they fixed the goop visuals, which was really annoying and rare, but it's still nice to have it fixed. Let's get into gameplay balances. This is more of the character stuff. First off, on the plant side, the Power Cactus's fire rate has been increased from 2.5 times a second to 3 times a second, while the Flame Cactus's has been reduced from 3.5 times a second to 3. They also reduced the Camo Cactus's damage from 44 damage per regular hit to 33 damage, and from 88 per critical hit to 66 damage. The Electric and Toxic Chompers had base damage output increased. The Electric Chomper seems to deal out more damage just by hitting them quicker, dealing 24 damage a second or 32 damage a second if the enemy is in a group getting shocked. The Toxic Chomper base damage went from 4 damage a second to 6 damage a hit, but the Toxic Chomper now hits 4 times a second, dealing out 24 damage with the spray, but the Toxic Chomper also deals 2 damage a second once an enemy is poisoned, and can deal up to 5 damage a second if the Toxic Chomper is close enough. This makes the Spray Chompers deal out massive damage, but I personally prefer to use the more traditional Chompers since I find chopping down on one enemy easier to focus on. The Toxic Pea Shooter's base impact damage has been reduced from 32 to 26 for a direct hit, which I thought was a much needed balance. The Ice Pea's freezing ability has increased, making it easier to freeze enemies before vanquishing them, making the Ice Pea my favorite go-to plant. They also fixed the issue where you could enter and exit Hyper instantly. They also added mass to the Sombrero Bean Bomb, so it's harder to push around. The Sunfarrow's rapid fire exploit has been fixed. They've increased the damage for their regular Sunflower from 7 damage for a base hit to 8 damage, and from 9 damage for a critical hit to 10 damage for a critical hit. According to the patch notes, they've increased the damage for the Power Flower, but I still find that the Power Flower deals 6 damage for a regular hit and 7 damage for a critical hit. If you notice the difference, let me know in the comment section down below. They also increased the damage for the Fire Flower from 6 to 7 damage for a base hit, and from 7 to 8 damage for a critical hit. Moving over to the zombies, the Rugby Star can now only fire about 6 seconds instead of 30 seconds, which was a little unfair when compared to the other All-Stars, so that's a very nice fix. The Long Bomb has a smaller explosion, and the Ultra Tackle damage has been reduced from 100 to 80 or 90, but I couldn't get a good clip to show it. The Plumber has a smaller blast radius, which was highly requested, but this is still an amazing variant. The Chemist spread has been reduced, making it so you have to aim a little better, especially since the clip size has been reduced from 12 to 8. The Scientist projectile damage has been reduced from 44 damage to 33 damage, since when in close range, the spread, along with the projectile combo, would deal massive damage. The Camo Ranger had a fire rate deduction from about 5 times a second to 4, but it also had recoil reduced on each shot. The Arctic Trooper's freezing rate has been increased, making it much easier to freeze the plants before vanquishing them, so this makes the Arctic Trooper my new favorite character. Alright, now that we're done with the patch notes, let's look at the new characters. The Citrus Cactus has a burst-fired weapon called the Orange Burst that can fire bursts of 3 and can fire a total of 24 times before needing to take a 2-second reload. The Orange Burst fires bursts of 3 that fire 9 times a second, but it still has to take a half-second pause between each burst. Each shot fired can deal up to 15 damage per regular hit and 16 damage per critical hit. The Citrus Cactus has similar health and speed to the other cactuses, but the Camo Cactus is still my favorite. The Berry Shooter uses a Berry Blaster, which can fire about 1.5 times a second, 8 times, before needing to take a 1.5 second reload, which is a pretty quick reload speed. The Berry Blaster deals up to 20 splash damage and 36 damage for a direct hit. The Berry Shooter has the same health and movement speed as the other pea shooters. The Ice Pea is still my favorite pea shooter, but the Berry Blaster is a good answer to the Engineer's Plumber. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of the new characters? Personally, I think they breathe new life into the game. And it's awesome that they're giving them out for free, and you unlock them right off the bat. So, if you're just starting out, it's nice that you get 2 new characters. Before you go, make sure you subscribe for more awesome videos, so you don't miss out on any Plants vs. Zombies action.